as well, joining you here on the SuperCoach AFL Facebook page. Very unofficial after our launch last week down at Fox Footy, obviously with all these isolation measures and everything in place. But, yeah, guys, nice to see you're at least smiling, and even though there's no footy or no SuperCoach to think about for the next couple of months, a big round one to wrap up anyway. Dan Begala, how are you holding up?
Timmy, thanks for having me, and I'm grateful for all this technology we've got these days. Tough first round, 21-39, wasn't the end of the world, but as I said on the pod earlier this week, had a few things that didn't go my way. Being Brayshaw didn't perform like I expected, didn't pack enough players over 6'5" in my side either, so not enough ruckman, unfortunately, and paid top dollar for a few players where I probably should have saved a buck, taken a haircut, and probably redeployed the cash elsewhere. But all in all, pretty good round. We only really had 24 hours to prepare, and the strategy this year was very different to what we've seen in seasons gone past. Yeah,
it definitely was. We're just going to hide Dan for a sec because we're going to bring something up that all the listeners need, all the viewers need to see. As we introduce Paige Cardone, now this was earlier today, and if you're not following Paige on social media, please do, because her tracksuit work has just been impeccable in the last couple of days. Firstly, Paige, tell us where the photo was taken, social distancing at a great level, because you appear to be the only person in the park, and also the tracksuit. What's the story?
Look, I'm a bit of I'm very well known to be a bit of a collector of matching tracksuits. I have a bit of a thing for them. But this photo in particular was only taken at the end of my street. I've got a bit of a nice little park going on. There was no one down there shooting hoops, so I went down today and cleared the mind a little bit, took the frustrations of SuperCoach out, and had a bit of a play around. I've become pretty good at the old self-timer, so very happy.
Bring Al Patton into the discussion now, move off tracksuits, and Al's tucking into some delicious KFC as we speak as well for his lunch. Al, thanks for dropping in as well and supporting our great sponsor too. How did your team go in round one, and how are you sort of coping cooped up at home as well? You're like most of us now in Australia, sort of doing our work from home and trying to stay in touch as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. Unlike Paige, I don't have a basketball hoop at the end of my street, but I do have a KFC, so that's helping me out. Drive-through only now, of course, and home delivery, so you can still get into that. My SuperCoach team wasn't quite up to the standard I would have been hoping round one. 2065, I think I got in the end. I've just noticed people want to spend, you're looking for something to read when you're bunkered up at home. The player notes have been updated on SuperCoach, and I've got the notes on a lot of my players, including the first one I clicked on was Luke Ryan, who's my D1. And I think it pointed out he had 11 touches and gave away about 3 free kicks. So that sort of sums up about where my weekend was at. He was the guy that I brought in. I had him for a lot of the summer, and he wasn't in my final team after the teams came out on Wednesday and Thursday, but then I somehow managed to manipulate things to get him back in on the Saturday, which cost me in other parts of the ground. I thought defence is where the money needs to be spent. And, it didn't really work out. So, fortunately, we have a bit of time to dwell on this, but also to think about, what we might do next. I'm sure we'll talk about this, but still pretty up in the air what's going to happen with the AFL season and what will happen with SuperCoach. But SuperCoach will go on. As long as there's AFL footy being played, there'll be SuperCoach. So we'll just need to find out what exactly is going to happen in the rest of the year, and then we can decide, there'll be the powers that be will make some rulings on whether we get a few more trades or how it's all going to play out.
Yep, and we should welcome the other member of our SuperCoach team that's going to have a chat as part of this SuperCoach TV broadcast, Dan Batten. Good to have you on board, mate.
Yeah, I was the only unlucky one to miss out last week at the Schmick production at Fox Footy, and now I'm in on a podcast different parts of Melbourne. A bit like Al, I had a pretty disappointing first round. I jumped on Luke Ryan off the back of Jeremy Howe and Sam Doherty's big scores on Thursday and Friday night, which really didn't go to plan, and I had to get rid of Andrew McGrath to do so, and he scored quite well. I spent most of the summer writing about rookies and still managed to get them wrong. Sam Sturt ended up scoring 100 after not scoring over 50 for the first in either Marsh game. I luckily had Paige's boy Tyler Brown, Justin McInerney, a few of those guys, but I didn't have Mitch Georgiades either, and had Ben Cavara, and also brought in Devon Robertson late, hoping he could get a solid total, and he ended up with 47. So not the best first round, but hopefully we have 2 months now for corrective trades and maybe even a reset of teams. Who knows?
So pretty much the idea of this particular broadcast, as we say, it's nowhere near as formal as last week, but if you've got any particular questions, certainly in relation to your team, we'll try and answer those in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. As Al said, we don't have all the answers yet about certainly what footy is going to look like, but also how SuperCoach is going to proceed. There will be some KFC SuperCoach when footy does start again. Fingers crossed that's sort of late May or early June has been floated by the AFL. But I think the main thing will be that we'll certainly keep you in the loop, and we've got a few ideas up our sleeve as well, so we can continue writing about SuperCoach in the next couple of months as well, and trying to keep you as engaged as possible as well. So we'll certainly keep everyone in the loop as to how that all plays out. And people are probably getting a bit sick of looking at me.
Oh, Timmy.
Tim's gone.
He's gone.
We've lost him.
We've got Dan, we should ask you about the big issue of the rucks. Looking at some of these questions here that's coming in, Isaac Place has asked, he started Grundy, Nick Nat at R2, and then Naismith at R3. So, 250 grand on the bench, but maybe it's worked out all right given how well Big Crayfish went in his first game.
He's got a litany of ruckmen there, which is great, but unfortunately probably won't be able to get one of them on. But if I'm in his position with Naismith at 240-odd K, I just retain him and look for some appreciation there. It's a shame that he's not ruck forward, but who knows, they might make some amendments to those sorts of things as we go. In the scheme of things, I think what I would like to do when we get the chance is get a few more in. Segler in the forward line. I probably might have to downgrade Gorm, but again, as I said in the pod, I've got bigger issues to fry, and that's getting Sturt and Georgiades into my team, both with BEs very significantly negative, being I think Sturt's got 130 and Georgiades in the 80s. So they're lay down misères. You'll have to get them. I've missed them, and as Dan said, he studied them all summer but didn't think they warranted a spot, and so did I. I wasn't certain. Both key forwards, both coming out of the goal square. Who would have thought they'd towel up Michael Hurley and whomever was playing on him on the Gold Coast? But look, plenty of time to think. There's probably more important things going on in the world at the moment, but we'll be ready to go when it comes, and hopefully with some exciting new changes.
That's a tough thing is we're only really going off, well, even if you count the Mars Series, that's 3 games, 1 game. Everybody's sort of jumping at, we need to get off these players or on these players, but we're working with a very limited data set at the moment, but I guess can only go on what we've seen, especially given new conditions with shortened quarters and that kind of thing.
I'm just seeing in the questions here, someone said that Jake Lloyd really hurt him down back. I think he scored about under 80, which is unusual for him, just winning so much footy. Do we reckon that potentially for some of these guys who rack up a lot of footy, like Laird and Jake Lloyd, I guess sort of not cheap footy, but handballs at the back and that sort of thing, that their scoring will be affected in these shorter games? Maybe the accumulators might. I mean, I don't know, because, Tom Mitchell you'd probably put in that category and he was pretty good. But guys who just continually, they go for 30 minutes a quarter and get their, just keep going when other players get tired maybe, they sort of lose that edge because, the quarters are shorter, so everybody can just go hell for leather for 20 minutes or so. Not sure. I mean, that's Lloyd and Laird, they sort of maybe fall in that category. And they also
didn't help it that last week that the Lloyd's traditional intercept, rebound, kick, follow his work up the field, get involved in those chains of handballs, wasn't doing a lot of that in that specific game. A lot of his kicks, when he did take possession, he usually squared the ball up. So wasn't helping him from a SuperCoach perspective as much, but that's probably the first time we've really seen him score below 80 in quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he actually started on the wing.
He was on the wing. He was named there as well.
Yeah, and I think I did see him there for a lot of those centre bounces, but that didn't really help him. We prefer him to be just floating around, getting his doing his playmaking role down back. Hey,
he is back.
Because there's a question about Brett Bewley.
Yeah, no, people probably get the idea by now. So we're coming to you via B.live, which means, so we're going to have 4 of us up at once. But Paige is going to take a breather for a couple of minutes, and then we'll swing it around.
See you later, Paige.
We'll swing the rotation and get everyone back on deck shortly. But Brett Bewley was great, wasn't he? I think we laughed about the idea of some of these mid-price breakouts that, I don't know, could potentially be cash cows, and there wasn't really a lot of forward rookies that were all that enticing, albeit that Sam Sturt and Mitch Georgiades came out and scored really well in round 1. But Brett Bewley scored well. Darcy Fort's about the same price. He scored pretty similar, 94. And then Ben Long, who was only, and there's Dan with his Sam Doherty ball there. Ben Long for about 283,000. Didn't get a lot of possessions, but ended up getting 280. 280 odd. Sorry, at 280,000, ended up getting 118 points. So, he did extremely well too.
So, would you be looking at bringing in a Bewley or did you have him actually in the end, Tim?
No, I didn't have him. And there's probably bigger priorities, isn't there? You probably got to look at the rookies or someone like a Jack Viney, who was the top scorer of the round, I think.
Yeah.
And these those you talk about Bewley and Darcy Ford in that sort of 250k range. Well, there he is, Jack on the.
It's like old school internet dial-up internet.
A lot of us were picking those guys in that price bracket down back. So I had Isaac Cumming, and he scored about 60. And then Dylan Robertson, as Dan mentioned, was even worse. So
26.
Jeff Butcher's asked, do we persist with him? Dan, will you be hanging on?
Well, he does take a lot of kick-ins, and he took a few, probably about 4 or 5 kick-ins, but only had about 8 or 9 touches over the weekend. I think it's probably there may be bigger fish to fry, as Dan said, but I don't know. It's interesting because there's not really any other options around his price. You could, by the time Basher Hooley will be back by the time round 2 happens, so you can't really get, say, a Jaden Short who's about a 100k upgrade. I'm probably going to stick with Dylan Robertson for the time being because he can produce those good scores like, say, a Darcy Moore with those kick-ins.
Yeah, sounds good. So what about I can talk a bit about Jacob Townsend. He was fantastic for the Bombers. Someone asking if he's a one because he's around 220. Yeah, so he's very cheap. But what did he actually score in the end? I mean, he's not going to play better than that, is he?
He's about 95, but he was just clunking marks and dumping blokes with bone crunching tackles. He looked fantastic.
He was getting to the front as well. That was the main thing. I think in his role, he was really playing that front position, and he got himself in the first quarter alone, I think he had 2 or 3 free kicks just for being the man in front. So he's playing that role. He's playing like he wants to stay in the game. And for me, I took him off the waivers from a draft point of view. So I was straight onto him. So probably more a draft point of view, I'd probably be taking Townsend. I wouldn't really be wasting a trade on him in Classic unless, of course, we see that it happen, at least a second time when play resumes.
Yeah, definitely. The questions are coming in thick and fast as well. So you can do that over our Facebook page.
There's a Facebook page.
That mark in the background is Al's dog, which is all right. So you still get some audio as well. We might just drop Al out of there for now, and the 4 of us can have a bit of a chat. So
I'm also taking applications for a lawnmower as well. So
there's been 3 questions on the concept.
So how did we all score? Because the winning team this week had, I think, about 25-40, which is just remarkable considering it was such a hard round to predict. And I ended up with 20-89, which only put me in the top 31%, but made a bit of a blunder with the captaincy. I was thinking round 1, play it safe, not sure what the score is going to be. Got Dusty 126, was happy with that. And then, of course, Brodie Grundy came out and did what he does every single time against the Western Bulldogs and scored 179 on Friday night. And I think most people, because they'd gone with Patrick Cripps maybe in that first game, didn't want to take the 112, ended up doubling up Brodie Grundy and got a bit of advantage. And look, I'll be lying if I said I wasn't dirty because that was probably what cost me podcast bragging rights over you, Bigala, because there was about 50 points between us in the end. So, you've got bragging rights now for the next couple of months. Yeah, that's right.
I'm sitting at 19% overall, so it's not exactly my best start, but I'll take it for now.
Bigala, I've got a bone to pick with you. Last week on the show, you
Dunkley.
were really, really big on Dunkley.
Yeah, I was bullish.
Completely folded my entire strategy because I was sitting next to you and I thought, yeah, you've sold me. And wowee.
Jeepers.
I don't even know where to start.
I'm only allowed to provide general advice only. General advice only. But Dwayne The Rock Domenico, who won it last year, he came into a podcast a week or so ago, and he talked about how his output last year from round 7 was equivalent of a 710k midfielder, so probably the best player in the game. And he was priced at 630. So there's an instant opportunity there. However, I think all the dogs were down. Bont was Bont looked like, he couldn't get near it at the start of the game. And I think McRae, he battled to his 101, whatever it was. But poor old Dunkley, they were all flattened. I think that's the issue when you're faced with Timmy down the bottom, when you're too concentrated on Bulldogs. And as we saw, teams that win typically get all the points, and the Dogs just came out empty-handed in that game, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was even more pronounced, wasn't it, Dan?
Yep.
Especially the difference between the winning team and the losing team, and that might be something that we see become more of the norm in these shortened games over the rest of 2020. And Isaac Placer just dropped in with another quite interesting point, which is something that we'll look at, I'm sure, if not the next couple of weeks, certainly when we get some idea of when footy's back. And it's that, there's going to be so many players back all of a sudden for round 2, isn't there, that could potentially come into our SuperCoach teams. So you look at, I know we're all hot on Brandon Zerk-Thatcher because he had such a good Marsh series, but Patrick Ambrose is probably going to be back for Essendon, so that might affect his role. Hopefully Stephen Hill can get his body right between now and round 2.
Wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It is a big if. And then Tom Doty, who's the player that Isaac's floated as well. So he was talked about maybe coming back round 2, round 3. And he was 273k. So if you really want to jump off Dylan Robertson, if you weren't convinced by that first performance, there's potentially an easy sideways trade as well. But it's all really up in the air at the moment, isn't it, guys? Because I guess we're all debating, like a lot of people. I see Fantasy Freakos throwing it out there on Twitter today as to, I don't know, whether we should have a wild card round when we come back, whether we should have 5 trades to correct our team, whether we should just have to roll as is and have the 2 trades that we planned on. So individually, maybe we'll start with you, Paige. So what are your thoughts on sort of that idea of a wild card round, or whether we should potentially go down another path? Because, it's certainly got the SuperCoach community talking.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Certainly, I guess we're all accustomed to that 2 trades per week, and but I guess it is uncharted territory. What do we do in this situation? I'd love to see 4 or 5 trades being made available so we can make corrections, particularly when you've got guys like, say, Buddy Franklin, who probably wasn't going to be seen until halfway through the year. He's probably now going to be fit for round 2. So it's extreme sort of circumstances at the moment. I think a lot of us would love to hit the reset button. For me, Darcy McPherson, that didn't work out whatsoever. But similarly, again, it's, really you're talking about your rookies here and the guys that you've missed, and they should be your priority because obviously you want to always trust in your premiums. But for me, I'd love to see some grace given potentially for the first week back where that 4 or 5 trades are given to make some corrective moves.
Now, I'm going to put on record, I'm a wildcard round guy. And my team went okay. 2089 wasn't horrendous, but I just want to see people given unlimited trades and just go hell for leather for one round. Start your team again. We keep the rankings, we keep the points, so there's still some reward for going well in round 1. But it's going to be such a strange season. We might have 2 rounds in 1 week when we get back. These are all things that we couldn't have planned for. So considering that I don't want to use the word that everyone has been about this particular situation, unprecedented, but it's just such a crazy footy season and crazy world that we're living in at the moment as well. I don't think any of us could have seen this coming. So what about you, Dan Batten? You got any thoughts on how you'd like to see the trade situation when footy, and if footy does resume later on in the year?
I think, it definitely is a good point. It's so much uncertainty around. It's another word that's been thrown around quite a bit. But I feel like we need to sort of reward those that did pick a good starting team as well. I don't mind that 5 trades to start potentially before we go. It just means that not everyone can get absolutely everyone. So say like you might have to prioritise a Sam Sturt over getting a Jack Viney. 5 trades is still plenty of trades, and considering there is a shortened round, if we have say 25 trades over the next the 17 or the next 17 rounds, 16 rounds, then there's still a little bit of more strategy there. I feel like teams could be very, very similar if we fall into that trap of resetting everyone's team, because say Tim Mitchell, you might post your team up on the Herald Sun website and then 50,000 people copy it exactly the same. So, which will make them go terribly.
No danger of that. Maybe they'll follow Dan Begala, but I wouldn't think they'd be following me. Dan Begala, you got any thoughts on this trade issue that well, it's low down the pecking order for most people at the moment, certainly, but something at least those in SuperCoach are talking about.
Yeah, I think I echo the same sentiment as Bats over there. I guess if we do offer too many trades, people will just literally refurbish their sides and replicate the leaders, and I think that won't be fair. And I don't think it acknowledges the great start that these people have had, which is I've never seen a start like that where teams are shooting out 2,500s or 2,400s in round one when your side's got 12 premium players traditionally in it. I do think that we need to be nimble and we've got to be able to adjust quickly because who knows, May 31 could push out. It might happen. Who knows? But like I don't know. Like I still got to get my head around what we saw in that basic amount of data. We have 8 games or 9 games, and obviously it looks like rucks are scoring. Obviously it looks like you need to become almost a tipster. If you're picking the right team to win, you're picking players that will be winning. You're picking GWS. You're picking Richmond. You're picking Collingwood. So those are things we've got to be conscious of because all those trends started to show, but I'm sure we're only just scratching the surface of some of the scoring trends. And for me, I think that this wildcard round sounds great. 4 to 5 is probably fair because you can fix the holistic stuff, the rookies. You can fix the mid-prices that have gone bust, and then you might be able to make a change if someone's available now, like a Buddy or a Tim Taranto in 5 months' time, whenever it might be, to get them in because it's unprecedented times. I mean, it's unprecedented that Jack Viney scores 186, but like some of those things, like we can't ever forecast them. And we've got some great minds in this room and out in the community, and I'm sure with a bit of collaboration, we'll come with a great set of rules and make this game really cool for the next few months once it's back in fruition.
Yeah, certainly. I think most people need something to enjoy at the moment, and that'll be the key to any decisions that we make, really. Just going back to the questions from those out there hitting us up on our Facebook page. So Craig Hughes asks, what are your thoughts on Marlian? I think, 78% of people had him, so you definitely want to get him in round 2 if you didn't. And he also asks, what will his price likely go up if he has another solid 90-plus game? So just looking at his projections, he's projected to score 94 in his next game, and that would mean that he'd go up 63,000. So he'd go from 123,900 to above 190,000 and likely to rise exponentially again the next week after that. So, yeah, definitely if you didn't start Marley and Pickett, if you really wanted to be different, he's one of those rookies that you've got to jump on ASAP. Even if you've only got 2 trades, you want to be on him before his price starts taking off, don't you guys?
100%.
Absolutely.
What about so we talked some of those high priced forwards as well, but it's worth mentioning a guy that Dan just brought up in Jack Viney, who was the top scorer of the round, scored 185 against West Coast, which was a phenomenal performance. But there was a few other mid prices that performed pretty well in round 1 too. And I don't know, you look at the likes of Jeremy Howe, scored 156. He's only 430. Sam Jacobs, 348k, 134. I don't think anyone. Harry Perryman's in 205 SuperCoach teams. He scored 410,000. He scored 132. Chad Wingard 131 as well. So there was some great performances from mid prices. And Stewart, who had the winning team this week, had Tom Rockcliffe at M3, Chad Wingard at M4, and Devon Smith at M5. Which, I don't think that'll happen again if footy comes back a bit later in the year. But if you're a SuperCoach out there and thinking about prioritising your trades in round 2 for the rookies or potentially using them on these mid-price gems, what way would you be going? Are you going with the rookies or are we going with the mid-prices considering it's a shortened season? Paige, we'll start with you.
Yeah, look, one of my very first corrections, if we do get the luxury of those extra trades, I am going to be rethinking Darcy McPherson. So obviously had a phenomenal preseason, which leads us to that whole, there's always that one player who tears up preseason. I like to call it the Pat Karnitsis Award, that absolutely goes hell for leather in the preseason and stinks it in the premiership season. Darcy McPherson is absolutely on notice. I'm so disappointed, particularly when I've been so bullish about Jai Simpkin all summer and I didn't start him, and he goes and did what he does. So Darcy McPherson would be one that I'd be looking to punt. But I think given the shortened season, as you said, Tim, there's real merit in correcting your mid-price guys. Particularly, Dylan Robertson's one that some people may consider, particularly when he scored 26. And if you don't have someone, say, like John Noble, who scored 74, and there's only about 40K difference between the two, it kind of makes sense. But I think that only really comes into the equation if we have those luxury trades. I've always been a fan of allowing, that first, unless there's a serious injury, allowing any trades to basically go through to the keeper after round 1, reassess round 2. I think that's the safe way to go, rather than having knee-jerk reactions, but different set of circumstances this time around, I think.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Dan Batten? You're our rookie man. Are you looking at making sure you've got those gun rookies in and getting as much cash generation as possible, or are you looking at the Viney, even Petrarca, sort of some of those mid-price types that scored well and looking to get up to a full premium team ASAP?
I think getting your team value up is the number one priority at the start of the year. So I'll be looking to get in Sam Sturt and Mitch Georgiades. There was no Dixon on the weekend, but he did play alongside him during the preseason. So but I wouldn't be expecting scores of 78 every week, and same with Sturt with his ton. But other than that, I'm probably going to look to have a bit of a restructure. I last minute went to have 4 midfield rookies on the field because I felt like I could trust them more with a bit of like a emergency loophole. So I'm probably going to change my structure a bit. Look to get maybe a Viney or a McGrath in an M5 and maybe downgrade in defence. Might look to, potentially if a Will Gould's playing round 2, look to downgrade Robertson to him, or maybe Robertson to Duday, as someone suggested in the comments earlier. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I've gone very deep in the forward line as well, so that might be something worth rethinking. Darcy Fort's my F5 at the moment, and I don't like his chances now with the 2 months off. Even though he scored 90 odd, it's every chance that Reece Stanley could come in for him. So that just makes him an irrelevant Supercoach pick, really, if he's playing in the VFL. But yeah, so I'm probably going to look to upgrade my midfield and just work it from there.
Yeah, sounds like you need unlimited trades, Dan. Because you're looking at about 15 moves there for round 2. Dan Begala, what do you think? Mid prices, or are we sticking with the tried and tested, getting those gun rookies in that are playing early on in the season?
I mean, all things being equal, if the rules stay the same, I think you've still got to go with the tried and tested, get the rookies, bargain basement price. They've all got the lowest BEs of all of them, so they're in the negatives, most of them. As we said earlier, Georgiades -80, -130 on Sam Sturt. Like, they've got such quick capital appreciation. You'll get them in, you'll make money, and you'll move on. And as we saw, we've only had one sample size of games. Like, I remember last year, Clayton Oliver had a mare in round 1. Everyone scapegoated him, got rid of him in round 2. I think he turned up with a 149 against Geelong on the Saturday night at Skills Stadium. So I don't think you've got to give up on these primos. Don't trade those guys. Maybe it's focused on, maybe you think some of those mid prices have underperformed. But again, like, Viney could shoot 40 next week when we go out and play again. So he's not proven just yet. But as we said, I think there's a different kettle of fish with Viney. Change in his regard at the club. He's no longer the captain of the club. He's motivated, he's fit. Everything about Viney makes sense. And I guess maybe we didn't pay enough heed to that at the time, but looked like a man possessed in that game. And I think he's probably the biggest myth that I have in my team, because both preseason games, phenomenal. And then against West Coast, he just attacked the ball like I've never seen. Like, he looked like one of the best players in the comp almost.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thanks for dropping in for a chat. Awesome to see your faces. Probably how we're going to have to catch up for, well, at least the next couple of months, it looks like now as well. But, yeah, hopefully we've put a smile on a few people's faces by talking a bit of Supercoach and, not sort of focusing on all the serious things that are going on around the world at the moment. 30 minutes or so. So all the best. Stay safe to the three of you, and also to all those that have tuned in as well. And as soon as we have any updates on KFC SuperCoach as well, we'll be sure to let you know whether it's on here on the video or on the Herald Sun website or Fox Sports as well. So, Paige, thanks. As I say, stay safe.
Thanks, guys. If anybody wants to come and mow my lawn, just hit me up. I'd be grateful.
Yeah, Paige is taking off. As the two Dans, thanks for dropping on as well, and to Al Patton, who joined us earlier.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richmond 2017 premiership win. Drink responsibly, of course.
Is that off?
Yeah,
probably would be more as a memento than anything.
Are you on the clock?
And this is
Stand back and
G-rated.
stay off for
This is
those 1
G-rated,
weeks. So,
Dan.
bit of day-
I'm not on the clock, so
which we don't
I can
encourage.
do what I like.
As I say, thanks for joining us. Stay safe, and we will speak to you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks.